All right, guys, we're running out of time for 2018. Have you made a resolution yet? No? Okay, well, let me ask you a question. Have you made a resolution that you intend to keep yet? No, of course you haven't. I've got one that's perfect for you guys. It's called Audible. That's right. Get some more audiobooks in your life in 2019. And a perfect way to do that is go to audibletrial.com/jumbled and get a free 30-day trial. It's a great start, and then you can just keep the ball rolling from there. They've got over 180,000 different titles that you can choose from, so there's going to be no shortage of selection there. So take a nice long look around. You keep your audiobook afterwards. You guys are going to love it. I won't get too much into that right now because we got the stuff in the middle. You guys know how it goes. But I thought that I would let you guys know. 30-day trial, free audiobook. Who would not want those? I know I do. And if I were a cheaper person and I were more money hungry than I am, I would have signed up with one of my lesser known Yahoo accounts, and I would have pocketed $15. But I haven't done that because I like to think that I have morals, right? I don't steal, even from corporations. Guys, we're on hiatus. I told you about it last week. Johnny and I took a couple weeks off to celebrate the holidays. Hope you guys had a great Christmas. I am currently traveling back from Indiana. I'm sure I had a great time. It's always good to see family and to be around the ones you love. Hopefully you guys got to do that. Hopefully you guys got spoiled by your family. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you're a piece of shit and you got nothing in 2018 for Christmas. But hey, you know what? It's always time to right the ship, get things back in line. You can do it. We're here. We're support for you. And we thought that we would bring back another golden Jumbled episode. This is one of my favorite Jumbled episodes of all time, and for good reason. Very charismatic guest on this episode. You guys already you've seen the title. You guys loved the first one, and we thought, what better than to give you guys a great late Christmas present than one of the better Jumbled episodes, episode 70, Sky Wizard with Lacey Carriere. Hopefully you guys enjoy this one. I'm going to listen to it about 14 times, I can already tell you. And it's I recorded this a week in advance. So I've been priming myself by listening to the old one just to get ready to listen to it again. That's how excited I am. Hopefully you guys are excited too. And we will see you guys next week in 2019 for another episode of Jumbled. But for now, guys, strap in. It's about to get real. Episode 70, Jumbled Rewind, Sky Wizard with Lacey Carriere. See you guys later. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Jumbled, your favorite podcast about nothing. I'm Zach.
And I'm Johnny.
And today is a very special episode because, as you guys know, it's a very male-centric podcast for the most part. But today is like I said, it's a special episode. We have a friend of Johnny, a tattoo artist. Yeah. And Lacey. Lacey, how do you say your last name?
It's Carriere, or Carriere, if you like to
Oh, yeah, it looked very French, so I didn't know. I didn't know which way to go with it. We're excited.
You can go either way.
We're excited to have you on.
I'm excited to be here, or on.
It's okay. The nerves will pass.
Yeah,
just go with it.
Definitely.
Right.
I was telling Johnny before you even got in the Skype call. The first words at any point in time are usually pretty important. I know you have a pretty important story apparently that you want to tell us. This will be the first. This is the first represented moment of a female on this podcast, and we'll just jump into it.
I mean, we might as well start with a gooder, right?
Right, exactly.
Absolutely. So one of the reasons why I wanted Lacey on, well, we're good friends, but she has amazing stories from either personal life or clientele that has been shared to her. And a lot of people ask me about my tattoos and like, oh, how long did it take? And, how long do you sit for? And I say, anywhere between 5 or 9 hours or whatever. I'm like, what do you do? Do you watch movies? I'm like, no, I just talked to Lacey. And they're like, what? You
mostly just talk shit.
Yeah. Like you just talk for like 9 hours. And I was like, yeah, but Lacey has a lot of funny stories. So it's pretty good that way.
I'm like a professional first dater.
That is true. I will admit that the first time I met Lacey, we had like a 30-minute consultation, maybe, if that.
Ish, yeah, around there.
And then we kind of emailed and I sent you some more stuff. And then the first time we actually hung out for 9 hours and I left and was like, I feel like Lacey's my best friend.
It's like a stepbrothers moment.
Yeah.
I have that effect on people. I can't help it.
But
you guys did karate in the garage afterwards, so it's very similar.
But I was thinking about it as we were preparing for this podcast. And I was like, well, you're like a professional, like you said, a professional first dater. Like you meet someone, you're going to spend at least 2 hours with them, typically. And you got to keep that conversation rolling. So you've mastered that art. So,
And that's why it usually goes in dark places, because that's what's entertaining. You can only talk about the weather so many times.
Oh, dude.
That's true. You really got to get into like what makes someone tick,
Exactly.
And then just like keep digging. Just keep digging.
Yeah. So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
I don't know if I'm ready. Honestly, Johnny really drummed this up and made it seem like my face is going to be pretty amazing, I guess, with this story.
It's something, because when you think you've heard it all, you really haven't.
And that's exactly how I felt, because someone was talking about this story and I was like, it can't be that bad. It can't be that bad. And then it was that bad. So I feel like
I'm
you're
not
a little
allowed to
bit
talk
concerned,
about it
but...
when my neighbor is tattooing, because she's like, I'm not hearing it again, because I'll picture it. And I'm like, well, then leave the room.
Because it's coming up. It's happening.
Stop your session.
Yeah.
So a little background about this client. First of all, he's amazing. He's like mid-40s. He's a dad, and he's a counselor for people mostly in like the victim stage of like trafficking and whatnot. But he also does John School, so that's a thing.
Not my school. Different.
I don't know what you do in your personal time. You might be enrolled. I don't know.
Well, let me tell you, I moved to Calgary and everything went downhill.
Well, then, yeah, $10 blowies has to get you by sometimes.
Hey, man, that's a good trip to McDonald's.
It is, actually. I could buy you a lot. So, while I was tattooing him, we had not really gotten to know each other that well yet. Like, it was all very PG, what we were talking about. Very conservative, like, oh, like, what do you do for a living, blah, blah, blah. And obviously, when he mentioned what he did, I was like, okay, like, this is going to be good. And because I'm me, the first thing I asked him was, what's the most fucked up thing you've seen? And he has a story. And so I'm from Winnipeg, small city. And he had a client who was seeing him on doctor's orders. And the reason why... You're so excited already. I love it.
Yeah.
So the reason why he was on doctor's orders is because he kept getting sick. And to paint a picture of this man, he's homeless, in his 50s, no legs, rocking a wheelchair, and I believe he had diabetes, which is why he didn't have legs, and he had a bunch of other health issues, including a colostomy bag. Now, the reason he was getting so sick is because he was getting reinfected over and over again with chlamydia and gonorrhea in his intestinal tract, because he got paid by over a dozen people to take the bag out so they could fuck his tummy. So they were going bareback in his intestines, but like with their stomach hitting his face, like. And I'm pretty sure it was consensual. I don't think there was like a stick in his wheel so he couldn't get away or anything, because he was getting paid. But this is the thing. And he had over 15 clients, which means they're probably like lawyers and have families, and they're like, I've always wanted to stick my dick in a tummy.
Of all the orifices that you could go down, like.
Well, and think about it this way. Most fetishes start in childhood, like big boobs, long hair, like weird things like that.
Yeah.
So that means there's like an 8-year-old watching his grandpa change his shit sack, being like, I want to stick my dick in that. Just let it sink in.
I don't want to. I don't think.
It's a danger. I actually had a moment where I thought about this. It's like, what motivates you, and how do you approach someone? Like, was he advertising?
Well, that's the thing. Who starts the conversation?
Yeah, like, do you just walk up to a random homeless guy and be like, hey, do you have a colonoscopy bag? You do? Great. Can I fuck it?
Yank it
or
out.
Imagine him like in a bar rolling around being like, hey, you want to fuck my tummy? $50.
Want to fuck my tummy? Oh my god, that line I don't think I'll ever hear in my life again. I think
that hole goes right into the intestine, right?
Yeah.
Direct, yeah.
They're getting these nuts up in these guts, that's for sure.
That's like next level butt stuff.
Oh yeah, it's extreme anal. Like, it's the next level.
That's real deep.
Extreme anal.
And to not wear a condom.
Well, it must be dangerous for your dick. Like, I don't have a dick, but I've heard that you treasure it. So if you want like burns on your dick from like acid shit.
No, yeah. Well, you gotta wax it down. And you know what? They probably applied a generous amount, hopefully, of KY.
Well, I don't know. There might be enough natural lubrication.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Might be a little stinky, but...
Yeah. The colonoscopy bag is like in the upper intestine, right? Because you wouldn't want to...
Yes.
Because then it would be too solid, so...
It's like pure lava at that point.
Yeah, pretty much like that. Like, it just skips the entirety of your intestine.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Sad news. I recently saw that client again. He died. Not my client, but the homeless guy.
Oh.
Because I was like, do you have any more stories about him? He's like, oh, yeah, no, he's super dead. I'm like, oh, fuck. Well, that's not surprising.
I like that he's super dead. He met his demise
no, just
in a very extravagant way. I imagine it's probably just like 40 dudes. Just a gangbang. Just a
good old soup kitchen.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
These 40 fucked up dudes just trying to get the rocks off, you know?
Amazing.
You know what my favorite part about this is? That we did a little bit of a preamble before we started. It's like, yeah, we'll introduce you, we'll talk about your career. It's like, no, let's go right into the belly fucking story.
Yeah. Well, you got to break the ice, right?
Yeah.
That's our polar bear
story. You find out where
there.
people are at this point, you know? You're going to know who your friends are and who your enemies are after this story.
Oh my God. Yeah, that story I was not ready for it. I think
and we warned
it's not
you.
Going where you think it's going to go.
Yeah.
No. Not at all.
Apparently though, if you Google it, it's a thing.
It's a real thing.
It's a thing.
I mean, everything is a thing now, I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should have had you on for last week's episode because it was episode 69.
It would have been so perfect for that.
Would have been pretty good.
I know.
I just thought about that.
Missed opportunity.
We were not prepared for episode 69.
Oh,
we
not
both
at all.
kind of got on and was like, wait a minute. This is episode 69?
Oh, God damn it. Yeah.
We did pretty good, though. I got a bunch of texts about my pee hole penetration story.
Getting your STD checked, dude. Oh, God, man. And
good news is, my mom says she's still proud of me.
Oh, that's good. That's love.
Yeah,
unconditional.
When she liked the Facebook post, I was like, oh no. Like, even I was like, oh God. Isn't it weird? Like, and it's not my parents, so I don't have to like answer to like, but it's still like, you know, growing up.
Responsibility.
Yeah, a weird responsibility for it. Like, I still am very like careful in what I say. Like, I'm Facebook friends with my childhood best friend's mom. And I'm still very careful about how I approach conversations and whatnot, very respectful and stuff like that. But I had this weird sense of shame almost when she liked the Facebook post. Oh God.
That's like our new thing is we try and go somewhere where I can embarrass my mom or just get her to like shake her head in disappointment, and she's like, "No, it was okay. You guys do it tastefully." That's what she says. I was like, "What was tasteful about penile penetration?" I don't know if
what we just talked about is tasteful at all. So we'll see how this goes. I haven't met your mom. She's gonna judge me immediately.
I know, she might not let us hang out anymore.
Oh God.
Oh no.
I'm so sad.
That's gonna be the first thing she's gonna say to you when she meets you at my wedding.
Yeah. She's like, "Oh, you're that girl."
Oh.
Yes.
Yes.
That is me.
That is me.
I have more stories. I'm ready.
All right. Well, you know what? Just let them fly. What do you got? What do you got for us? Disgust us, make us laugh, make me afraid.
Oh my God. Well, okay, so because I spend so much time with people, and tattoos too are a very personal thing. They're usually about, whether it's representing a tragedy or a survival story or something. I hear like everything. So like, do you want something sad? Do you want something crazy? Do you want another weird dick story? Like,
weird dick story. Let's go weird dick story.
Yeah, I think that's like the subtitle to our podcast. It's just like weird dick story.
How can we weave a penis into this conversation?
It's involving somehow involving shit or dicks or
or both
or both, combination of both, as we saw in the last story.
Well, so I have one guy. And, like, I don't get creeped out easy, but I was like, this guy's a bit of a weirdo. And I think, too, because I'm penetrating people all the time, they just assume it's okay for them to talk about penetrating other things with me because, like, I'm obviously into it. Which, I mean, yeah. But it can be... like sometimes people get too close with me too soon, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
So, and there's always those dudes that like hit on you in a way that's not classy. Like I had one guy once, he was talking about how he's in an open relationship, and like that's cool. And he was like, so if you and your husband were ever interested, like we could trade. I'm like, yeah, like no, I'm good. But thanks.
It's been 5 minutes.
Yeah, basically. Like I know I'm looking good today, but. Ugh. But so this one guy, I think within about probably 10 minutes of meeting him, and this was during the consultation, I should describe what he got. He was getting 2 Hello Kitties above his dick on the pubic mound.
Of course.
One was like an angel Hello Kitty, one was a devil Hello Kitty, because you need that in life.
Yeah, because it's a Hello Kitty. He's saying hello to the kitty, right?
Literally, that was his joke.
Yeah.
So he was very proud of it. Thought he was very witty.
At least he didn't get like on his dick head or something like that,
You know what? I feel like if I would have been like, "Oh, do you want it there?" He'd be like, "Fuck yeah, I do."
Yeah.
But I never gave him the chance.
Do you have to be like erect for that?
Well. Okay, so I almost tattooed a dick once, but he was getting really weird, and I'm like, I feel like I'm not getting paid enough to hold a limp dick for like 4 hours. So I don't want to deal with it.
You almost felt like he was going to be like one of those weirdos that you trip across on a porn website where it's like, I've seen a video before, it's like a dude laying on a nude beach, and he's not touching himself at all. And then he just, out of nowhere, just shoots, You just feel like it's going to be one of those. It's gonna be one of those situations, and you're like, I don't want to wash my hands, The
mental fortitude of that man, that is impressive.
Yeah, he was a Jedi. He was a dick.
It is impressive. Like that's a lot of mental preparation to like get to that point.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you do that?
I don't know. Probably a lot of flexing some muscles, I would assume, down there.
Maybe some prostate.
I'm probably thinking of some weird
presses.
Shit.
Probably. Yeah, I don't know.
So like Kegels, but for dudes, like.
Yeah, and I feel like he might not have been like a local, because for people who like live local near Nude Beach, just like, I'm going to the beach,
Yeah,
this dude was probably like, oh yeah, I'm coming from international, I've never been to a nude beach before. Maybe it's sort of like a voyeur sort of thing. Maybe that's what he was getting off on.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Side
anyway,
note,
you can get back to your Hello Kitty thing.
Well, I was just going to go on an even more side note.
Go
When
for
I
it.
was in, well, I guess both Italy and Greece, there's topless beaches, and I'm like, everyone has nice titties. Like, this is great. Like, I didn't see any bad tits on the beach.
Oh man.
The whole trip. I'm like, nice. Like, I'm okay with this.
Well, I don't have a pencil. I'll have to mentally remember Italy, Greece. Okay.
Nude beaches.
There's a
But a
nude
lot of
beach.
like fat middle-aged men in speedos.
Yeah, lots of that, but all the women were like prime. Like, it was
Dude.
good.
That's awesome.
So, especially, it was a nude beach in, I think it's called Plakis, on like the island Crete. We didn't know it was a nude beach, but there's a lot of topless people just because it's Europe.
Yeah.
And then we were walking, and I'm like, I just saw balls. What the fuck?
Yeah. I think
Just a
that's
bunch of swinging dicks.
that's when
Yeah.
you know it's real, when you get into a situation where you're like, oh, yep, balls, and they're here,
Yeah, pretty
and
much.
now it's a different level.
Yeah, and I'm very open. I'm like, oh my god, I'm getting naked. Everyone else is naked.
Yeah.
And my husband's like, I really don't want to do this right now. Can we just go have supper? I'm like, but I want to get naked.
Yeah, who doesn't want to be naked like on a beach?
Where
I-
no one knows you, so who gives a shit?
I honestly,
true.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
very liberating. I got naked. He walked away from me, so I put my clothes back on, and then we went and had dinner.
You just stood there for like 30 seconds with your arms out.
Imagine
Basically.
Take
what
it
that looked
in,
like
everybody.
from like a bystander's perspective of like, here's these two tourists. They don't know what they're doing. Obviously, you guys probably had like
Clearly.
sunscreen on your noses, and you show up and you see a bunch of sacks just waddling around. You're like, all right. So
I'm
you
into
get
it.
naked and your husband looks at you and is like, yeah, fuck this, and just walks away from his naked wife.
Right, like who does
Oh
that?
fuck! I hit my microphone. Jesus Christ. Oh fuck. Dude,
So
That's
back
like a
to Hello
bold
Kitty
move by
Dick.
from Jesse. Yeah, Hello Kitty.
Is it
let's
though? Like
go.
he's like that. He's an
That's
engineer.
true.
He's weird. If it's not planned, it's not happening. So,
You have to give him briefing notes to prepare to get naked for the beach, okay?
this
yeah.
is going to happen. Just shh, let it. So, Hello Kitty Dick. He was telling me how he has I don't know the proper term for it, but he has a dick cage. So it was $3,000. He got it custom made for his dick. It holds his balls and his dick.
Yeah, it's like a
And
chastity
he-
belt, but for
Yeah.
for a dick, right? Yeah.
Yes. And it has
I've got
he
5.
has like his Prince Albert, and that's how it like locks. Oh yeah.
Oh Christ. Oh Jesus.
The piercing hurts, but once it's healed, it's fine. Stop holding your dick. You're okay.
No, you don't know what it's like to have a dick.
You're right.
We went into
literally
great
take a
depths.
pounding. Like, I
We
think
went
I
into
know
great
pain.
depths talking about not sticking things in your pee hole. Now you're talking about ramming a needle through it.
And like I think he said it was like a 10 gauge. Like it's thick.
Ugh.
So his wife has a key. So he cannot open his dick contraption unless his wife says so.
Oh.
What does he do for a living?
He wears a dick on. He wears a cage on his dick. That's what he does
Like, is
for a
he-
living. You can't
like,
do
I feel
anything
like he-
else.
I feel like you
trying to
have to be a
think.
kept man. Because one, peeing with a Prince Albert is really difficult. Then I imagine peeing with a Prince Albert with like a cage wrapped around and attached to it. Like, how is that not visible? Like, was he wearing it when you're tattooing him?
Yeah, he totally was. And he's like, "Do you want to see it?" I'm like, I'm good, but thank you for
Should
offering.
have
But
flicked it or something.
well, I felt it because my hand's resting on this metal lump.
Oh, I guess, yeah, that's true.
So I was like, huh, interesting.
Side note. I don't know how these things work because I would never think about shoving something like that through my dick. But, you know, have you ever seen like a cartoon where they're like spraying water out of their mouth, but then they cover their mouth up, and then the water comes out of the ears?
That's exactly
I know,
what happens
yep.
with the Prince Albert.
Is that what
Yeah,
happens?
you have to sit to pee. Yes.
It just pees everywhere.
Yeah, it's a nice little dribble.
Oh, dude, that's the worst, man.
So my
And
buddy
there's
has
so
a
many
Prince
weird dick
Albert,
persons.
and I accidentally almost pulled it out once.
What were you doing near his dick that you did that?
I'm not surprised
know,
by the
we were-
story at all. I don't.
Well, a lot of the football stories you've told me, like, you're like a little gay.
Everyone's a little gay.
smidge,
It's also
yeah.
a spectrum. I
It
don't
is
know. We
spectrum.
were at a restaurant or something, and I didn't know he had
In
it.
public.
It was like,
Okay.
yeah, it was in public, and he was like chirping me about something, and I just like reached down under the table and like went to grab his dick, but he like kind of shuffled away, so I just caught the tip, and I like felt the ring, and my face went like white, and I was like, "What the fuck was that?" And he's like, "Oh, I didn't tell you this," and I made him show me because I didn't believe him.
That's so funny. Like,
I
let me see
made
it.
him show me.
Whip
Yeah,
out
I
your
was-
dick.
All right,
like,
man.
yeah.
You know
Like,
what?
What
I-
does this look like?
I gotta see it, I guess. That's spectrum.
Exactly, man. So and then
No
my first
homo.
question was, how do you pee? And he's like, one, you have to sit down and you have to angle your dick because it'll come out like your urethra, but it'll also come out of the piercing hole.
Yeah.
And I said, do you wear it all the time? And he was like, no, sometimes I take it out. And I was like, well, then how do you pee? And he's like, you have to put your thumb over the hole. Otherwise, it will like spray up.
Dude,
So-
that's so unnecessary. Like,
Well,
it's-
love
apparently it goes a long ways for sexual pleasure for his partner, his wife, I should say.
See,
well, I mean,
But
I
don't
beg to
know.
differ.
But
I
he
know a
did
lot
say
of
that
girls.
he maybe chipped her tooth once. So she has to wear a mouth guard. So that was our
gotta
joke.
wear.
Like,
She looks like Brian Urlacher out there, just wearing a mouth guard.
Oh God. Yeah, no, I've definitely like okay, so most vaginal piercings offer more stimulation for women, but every dick piercing does fucking nothing for dudes. It's all for like the hope of pleasing a woman, which I'm like really okay with.
Yeah.
in theory, it's great. No
Yeah, in
impact
theory
on
it's
you.
great, but it's like why are you gonna mutilate your dick?
Yeah, just
for
be better with it.
it might help. Just
Yeah.
know your dick better and do a better job.
Too many unknowns for
Oh.
mine.
But yeah, so back to the original point is like if this guy worked in an office, one, like he'd have to wear the baggiest pants. Two, he's like just pissing everywhere.
Well, and he jingles when he walks.
Oh my god.
It's always Christmas. And
'Cause
he
it's
keeps-
like-
he keeps some
Do
what do
think
you
he
call
hangs
it?
mistletoe off of
Mistletoe.
it?
Yeah, he keeps some mistletoe next to it. Very festive.
Yeah, basically. Like, because it's, I think the way that the Prince Albert lines up with the cage, it like clinks when he walks. So,
It's like a weird prison.
pretty great.
Like a,
yeah.
You would, Lacey.
fuck.
I'm gonna send that to Zach.
I may or may not have just sent a dick pic.
Well,
Oh my
man, here it's. I guess I'm looking at one that's not
I'm-
mine today.
So, talking about going to dark places when you're getting tattooed. So Lacey and I have another friend, I guess a coworker friend of Lacey's, Ray, and I got tattooed by him as well. And we started talking about dick piercings somehow. It's really weird. Why do dicks always come up when I'm talking to someone?
Because dicks are hilarious.
True. And then so we went to dick piercings and then dick tattoos. And then it went down to like weird dick tattoo mutilations. And it's kind of weirdly mesmerizing. Like, just look at that thing, Zach.
Do I have to? Oh, no. No.
So because it's an audio show, Zach, I'd like for you to just describe
Paint a word
the image
picture.
that you're looking at. Yeah, paint us a word
Oh,
picture.
God. Well, I can't tell if he's just got it in a weird position. It's just really small. Is the first thing I'm thinking of. Second,
You try to have a big dick when you have a needle coming at it.
I guess so. Yeah. I don't know. I don't even know how to process the horror that I'm looking at right now. Too much metal. That's it.
So because Zach can't grasp the words, so there's a little stubby mushroom cap poking out of some dude's pants.
Okay, I got the little part. Okay.
Yep. He has a ring that's coming out of the bottom of his urethra and through the tip. I'm assuming it's the tip of his actual
Yep.
exit of his urethra. And then to go 2 steps, not 1 step, but 2 steps further, he has a surface piercing on his head, 2 little balls hanging
They're
out.
like not that little though.
No, they're pretty big. And then and then the next step is that right below the top, I guess, yeah, right below the head, he has another surface piercing. So 3 piercings in total. Do you think he got them all done at the same time? Or is that like,
No, it's all different stages because swelling. Imagine.
That's true. But I want to know, like, you have to be committed to get that once and then let it heal and say, you know what? That was fun. Let's do it again.
And I'm pretty sure, I might be wrong, and I'm probably wrong, but I'm pretty sure the 2 that he has, they're called didos. I think.
Yeah, it's a bar that's right underneath that connects the 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's heavy piercing right there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So last week, I just figured out what I'm going to start sending you, Zach. So last week, Lacey, Zach and I were talking about a game that we played in university, where me, Zach, and our friend Zach's cousin Joe used to send each other like just the funniest porn we could find.
That's one of my favorite things too.
And then it would slowly get disgusting.
Oh God! No, very quickly. There was no slowness to it. It was usually disgusting right off the bat.
We went through some dark corners of the internet to find a video that would shock someone.
Yeah.
But now I know what I'm going to send you, Zach. Every morning you're going to get a new penis mutilation picture.
Oh no! Dude, you're gonna get blocked real quick. It's gonna be Slack only. We're only gonna be just
business only.
Yep, that's it, man.
The shop I used to work at. I mean, so the shop I work at now is all women except one guy. So I mean, we're all a little fucked up, but like it's pretty tame. Mm-hmm. But when I worked at a shop with all dudes, like we did questionable shit on the daily. And one of them was when it was slow, because it was a walk-in shop, so we had to like kind of just be there all day.
Sure.
We'd go on eFucked and try to find the most fucked up video and show each other and see who would gag first. I usually won because like nothing bothers me.
Oh man.
And that's what I both love and also terrifies me a little bit about you, Lacey. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, and like I usually dress like a pretty princess. Like I'll be wearing a tutu while I'm looking this shit up. So
that's
true.
Very
I misleading.
Guess you're not like I think what most people think is like a stereotypical tattoo artist.
Yeah, I look very wholesome. It's all lies.
You do,
all a front.
Yeah. But literally wears a tutu to work.
Yeah, it's my favorite outfit.
Yeah, I don't wear a tutu to work.
You should. You get a lot
just
of
in
attention.
the bedroom, right?
Yeah,
Casual Fridays, Zach. You were talking about casual Fridays.
It's true. Casual everyday dude.
And you could just tell them to not assume your gender.
Yeah, the beard doesn't really give it away.
That's actually
both.
a good story I have about that as well.
Hey Zach, guess what?
What, Johnny?
I'm actually doing an Audible spot. Or am I?
How weird would it be if it wasn't an Audible spot? No, this is an Audible spot. Guys, as with every episode, we are sponsored by the great people over at Audible. Head over to audibletrial.com/jumbled to get your free 30-day trial and a free audiobook. They've got it's unfathomable how many books they actually have, audiobooks.
Unlimited audiobooks. I heard that there are so many audiobooks that you could listen to one nonstop for your entire life 100 times over. That is a fact certified by me.
Yeah, and all statistics, it's like 97% of statistics are made up on the spot. But that 3% right there, that's not made up, dude.
That's gold, and that's only that 3% is where I pull my stats.
So, Johnny, what's the book that you're going to recommend everybody listen to? It's a very Christmassy month. It's a very giving month. Are you going to give people a good book to listen to, dude? I am giving them one. I am actually giving them statistically the best book on Audible. Okay.
And this is real. It's the highest rated audiobook on Audible. It's the sequel to At Night She Cries While He Rides His Steed, the first ever romance novel for dudes. This one is When Darkness Falls, He Doesn't Catch It, the second romance novel for dudes. Yes. Written by St. James Street James, starring St. James Street James, also known as Ross Patterson.
Best name ever, by the way.
Ross Patterson?
No,
or St. James Street James.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty good. So this one is following up with the Civil War. It's following the main character, St. James Street James, his activity during and through the Civil War, and building of the Great Railroad that spanned your moderately okay country. If you like books that are graphic, both in violence and sexual nature, if you like cowboys and Indians and trains,
I love that.
And copious amounts of drugs, and liberation of slaves, this book is for you. Highly entertaining. There's a bunch of Oscar recipients and nominated actors who voice act in this book, which is probably why it makes it so great. Though a lot of them signed NDAs so that their names wouldn't be actually attached to the book, because
you can tell.
You'll be able to pick them out for sure. And part of the reason why this was the case, there may or may not be a sex scene in this book involving Harriet Tubman. So I will leave that one to you guys. It is a must read, must listen. Absolute great conversation starter. If you have it on an airplane in a paperback, people will recognize the cover and they will ask you what that book's all about, and you want to be in the know. So definitely check it out on audibletrial.com/jumbled.
Absolutely. Hey, Johnny, thanks, buddy. Hey, Merry Christmas to you, Johnny.
That's my gift to you all. You're welcome.
Let's get back to the podcast.
All right.
Let's go. I'm a very positive person. And besides being like fucked in the mind,
a little bit deranged, a little bit.
But I had a client, and he's great, super nice guy. He was talking about how him and his wife have been trying to have a kid for a couple years, and it wasn't working, so they're waiting for adoption. But adoption takes a really long time, and there's a lot of rules now, so you can't adopt like from certain countries and stuff like that. And I was like, well, you know what? As soon as you adopt, like, you'll get pregnant. It happens every time. Then you have a happy little family. It'll be great. And he's like, yeah, I really don't think that's going to happen for us. I'm like, well, why not? He's like, well, we tried for quite some time. I was like, oh, well, my aunt did the same thing. They tried for 5 years and couldn't get pregnant. They adopt a kid, boom, pregnant immediately. And he's like, yeah, but we needed help. Like, we did IVF. I'm like, oh, my mom's friend, same thing. IVF, she did like 6 of them. None of them ever took. So she gave up. And then as soon as she gave up, boom, pregnant. It's just the way it goes. And he's like, no, like it's really not going to happen for us. And I wouldn't shut the fuck up. And I gave him success story after success story. I think I said like 5 different people and like their situation and how it worked. And then he's like, yeah, I used to have a vagina, so it's really not going to work for us. And I was like, oh, fuck. Well, yeah, that puts a damper in it for sure. So that's how I found out he was trans. And he's like, I normally don't tell people this, but I have a feeling you weren't going to stop. I'm like, no, I wasn't.
Yeah, it's just good that it got to the point where he had to tell you before you just like whipped out your phone and started playing When You Wish Upon a Star, Like that would have been like really awkward. All right, dude,
Pretty
you
much.
can wish as much as you want, but
I'll pray for you.
Yeah. So
how
do you feel about genitalia piercings in general, or tattoos? Sorry, I'm still just shocked by that dick pic.
As tattoos, like, I find most people who get them, like, you're already covered, because no one's gonna subject themselves to that much pain for like shits and gigs.
Yeah.
But no one wants that. Like no one is like meeting a girl at a bar and they're like, man, I really hope her pussy has like a wicked butterfly on it. Said no one ever. That's not a thing.
Wicked butterfly.
I like to think I'm fairly adventurous and open-minded, but if I was single and I like picked up a sleut and brought her home and she had like her vagina tattooed, I don't like. That would probably kill the mood for me. I'm not gonna lie.
Right. Well, depending what it is, like.
Well, that's a whole nother story. Like a butterfly alone would probably turn me off, but
it's like a sideways Arby's sandwich.
has to be corned beef, obviously.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh no.
100%.
I'm assuming the reason you brought this up, John, is because of one of the tattoos I've done.
Yes.
I thought so.
Yes.
So she was heavily tattooed. She was young, though. She's 22, 23. She wanted, word for word, a demon pussy. So...
I just love Zach's laugh so much, and I knew that one would get him.
So we did a cat skull with horns. And so the eyes and the nose... So, okay, the eyes kind of line up on the top of her pubic mound. I'm, like, pointing to myself. This is completely pointless.
Yeah, I can't see any of it. I have no idea what's happening right now.
The bottom of the nose of the skull lined up with her clit, which was pierced twice. So it looks like it has a nose piercing.
Okay.
Because she had a horizontal hoop as well as a vertical barbell. God. And then the outer labia was the jaw open with the teeth. So when she's sitting there with her legs open, it looks like a cat screaming at you, but it's
God.
her vagina.
Demon pussy, Zach.
Demon
Jesus
pussy.
Christ.
Like, what would you do with that? Like, if you go down on her, all I could think about would be, like, I'm making out with a cat right now.
Well, and, like, even when she's getting fucked, like, I should try to really, like, calm down on my language. Your mom's going to listen to this.
No, don't calm down on the language. She's
It's
been
too
warned
late,
plenty
Lacey.
of times.
It's too late.
She's been jaded plenty by this podcast.
Oh, well, I hope so. It's just, like, the more I talk, the more she's, like, going to be like, I don't even want to meet this woman.
No, it's the opposite. My mom will probably be like, "Oh, tell me more. Like, who are these weird people?"
Great. But so when she's getting railed, it's a skull eating dick. It looks so funny. And the best part, she ended up getting pregnant. And she emailed me, and she's like, so I'm having a baby, and I thought you should know because I'm going to tell you everything of the doctor's reactions. And I'm like, oh, my God, this is going to be glorious.
Could you just?
My God.
I wish they would have filmed that, and it would just be this cat skull vomiting out a baby. Like, what's more metal than that?
Right? So
not
metal.
much.
Oh, it's just
Zach,
amazing.
you're just overwhelmed right now, Zach.
So this is how me and John spend 9 hours together.
The first time.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't like Johnny said. I feel like if I were to happen upon that, I'd probably be pretty turned off as well. And
yeah, like, and especially if it's a demon pussy.
yeah, I'm not trying to get the soul sucked out of me, you know.
Yeah.
Through your people.
It's Satan's splooge now.
There's so many good lines.
I was just thinking about one-liners that can be the name of the episode.
I know, me too, the whole time.
I randomly thought about starting my own podcast because of the shit I hear.
Oh, you definitely should. That's the thing too, is like there's a podcast about everything, you know, so just like, you know, stories that you've come across, you know, and podcasts don't have to, I mean, we usually run about, you know, 45 minutes to an hour, but podcasts don't have to be long. I've been telling, you know, anybody who has an interest in it to absolutely do it because it's fun.
I mean, I'm having fun so far.
Yeah.
Is get to share my deepest, darkest stories.
So, knowing that you've tattooed a vagina, what won't you tattoo then? Like, where do you draw the line?
You know what? I'd like to say I wouldn't tattoo a butthole, but for the right price, I'll fucking do anything.
What about the hole where the colostomy bag goes in? Is that off limits?
Just
Well-
tattoo a vagina around that for guy.
Just pretend. Yeah.
If it was him, I'd do him a solid. It'd be a freebie. I definitely I had double glove that day though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say
for
you'd have
sure.
to throw away your machine and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's not autoclavable. That's just it's rotten.
You'd have to You'd have to do it where, you know how like in like where they have premature babies and whatnot, where you have to reach in with the gloves inside of a plexiglass case. It would have to be one of those situations because you just don't want to be anywhere near it. You know.
Sometimes I want that anyway. Like it's common decency, I would think, to like shower and be clean before you're about to have most of your body exposed to someone for the day. But sometimes I'm like, so do you just not believe in soap, or like, what's your deal?
Did you come right from the gym?
Yeah. Well, even
Were you
today,
just
like,
camping?
I went to the gym and then I had a massage after. I'm like, oh no, I have to shower. Like, he's gonna be grinding up on my ass. Like, he does not need to be in the sweat zone. So, I would hope everyone else is that courteous.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Sorry, go ahead, Johnny.
I was just saying about like the touching part, and I remember the first time like I was so like, don't touch Lacey, like trying to be respectful, and I think like my arm like fell asleep and it slid, and I like just touched like your wrist or something, and I was like, I'm sorry, and you're like, what? I didn't even notice. And I was like, oh.
I have no bubble.
Yeah,
and, like,
I was like so self-conscious of like giving you your space to like let you work, not to be like
I make
some
people
creeper.
Uncomfortable because I get too close to them, because it's just like, well, I got to get there. So, like, I'll be leaning on people all the time. And even when I'm not tattooing, like, I'm fine with, like, sitting beside a stranger and we're touching. Like, it doesn't bother me. So.
You basically touch strangers every day.
Yep. And there's been times, especially when I'm doing, like, inner forearms or wrists that are on an armrest and I lean over it, I've definitely put my boob in people's hands before. And it's so... this one guy, such a sweetheart. He was very nice. Clearly all my clients are, except the creepy ones. But I did that to him, not realizing, because A, I do it all the time, and B, like, I wear padded bras. Like, this shit ain't real. So, and he's like, I am so sorry. I don't mean to be touching your bosom. It's just the way you
Your
move.
bosom.
Like, who the fuck says bosom? I'm more offended that you called it that.
This
Did he call you
dude is
ma'am
like
too? Sorry, ma'am.
He's a biblical time traveler. Is that what's happening right now?
Yeah, I was like, no, it's fine. Like, I did it. It's my see. You're good. He's like, oh, okay. Like, just don't pop a woody. At least one that I can see, and we're fine.
Has that happened before?
Okay, like, once again, I don't have a dick, but don't you have no reason boners all the time?
Yeah, but you can.
If I sit the
usually
right
you're
way and
being
it rubs,
stabbed.
if it rubs against my pants the right way, I was like, oh, well, sorry,
What's
everybody.
happening?
There are times where I'm like, I just can't get up, you know, and I work, you know, I work in IT, so it's like somebody submits a help desk ticket or something. It's like, well, you know, you're going to have to wait about 5-10 minutes while I just look at random pictures of
Baseball. baseball.
Yeah. Sammy Sosa. Oh, God, he looks so weird now.
Oh, God. But, I wouldn't be surprised. Not that I've ever noticed, but, like, I get so close to people. Sometimes we talk about like some weird shit, and like once again people get really comfortable really quick. So like I'm sure if we're talking about something sexual, like you might just pop one, you know what I mean? And you're there for hours.
What would you like? How would you deal with that?
Laugh first, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. That's true. Just really make him self-aware and really self-conscious and just embarrass the shit out of him.
Like I'd come off really Canadian and be like, "Oh yeah, bud."
Oh yeah.
I think
and I would just say, "I expect a tip."
Yeah, I expect a tip. Yeah, yeah, and not that tip. Don't give me that. I don't want that tip.
Depends how big it is. I don't know. I might be open.
Oh God. Yeah.
Jesse's a lucky guy to be married to me.
Man, yeah. I don't know. It's God, that would be. But like, you gotta like just announce. You gotta just point it out. You know,
That's the thing.
Sitting there and being awkward about it, it's not gonna do anything but make.
Well,
the
it's only
situation
awkward if you make it awkward, right?
Right.
That's true.
So if you make light of the situation, it's not a big deal. And it's the same thing. Like I often have people, you know, they have to get naked or close to, and people often start where they're like very conservative. Like girls are like holding their boobs up, or they have tape on, or something, and like. In a while they're like, I really don't want to hold this anymore, like my arm's sore. I was like, I don't care if you don't care, like it's not weird for me, it's only weird for you.
Right.
So
sounds like the beginning of a great porno.
It definitely could be. There is lots of penetration involved.
That is true.
And I do get some moaners, so...
Oh, there... Oh, I was just thinking, I can't remember who... I think I was with you or I was with Ray, but someone was like going to town moaning. and it made me uncomfortable. It's just like, I get it. It can...
Yeah, do you run across that where you have like just some masochists that come in and really just sort of that's their thing is just
I
going
literally
through
have
it?
a guy who calls me mistress.
Mistress.
Wow.
He said it hurts less when he calls me that, and I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah, because he's activating the pleasure zone in his brain.
Yeah.
In his dick.
Yeah, that was
Mistress.
the same guy who said he'd be willing to swap.
Okay.
Yeah, duh. Full circle.
Yeah.
Is he wearing pineapples on his shirt? Apparently, pineapples is like the universal sign for swingers.
I'm glad you
Pineapples are super
explained.
in right now. So are you telling me these 13-year-olds at Urban Planet buying pineapple shorts? They're like, I want to fuck everyone.
Well,
I mean,
they're
actually,
13,
they're
and
13.
if they're boys, then yeah. Let's be honest.
Good point.
13-year-old boy will fuck anything.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, box spring in my mattress, just put something in the middle of that. And yeah, it
Oh
happened.
my God, there was a, I guess like a blog where people got, actually I think it was on Reddit now that I think about it, where souls go to die.
Yeah, I'm on it right now.
It was, what was the weirdest thing you've masturbated with, female or male, go. And some of the shit on there, oh my God. And some of it's like really well thought out. Like a guy's like, well, you put some mashed potatoes in a Ziploc bag and you microwave it for 27 seconds.
27.
I was like, that's so specific. Like
He's
a
experimented.
method.
Yeah, 28, a little too far. It's not
It's a little
warm
toasty.
anymore. It's like hot enough where,
It's just not comfortable.
yeah.
Mashed potatoes in your pee hole. I just imagine anytime you do something like that, something's in your pee hole.
Well, no, it's in a Ziploc bag. So he's just like wrapping it
Oh.
around. So it's
Yeah.
just
Oh,
squishy
interesting.
goodness.
I just like that he's going through the trouble of making mashed potatoes, though. Like he's boiling the potato.
They might be the
He's probably
instant
using
ones, though.
instant.
But that's the
Yeah.
thing. If like if anybody walks in, they're like, "Oh, you're just making potatoes." It doesn't look sinister.
It's
You're
not
like,
weird.
until you get to the part where you're putting it, you're like directly emptying it into the bag, and they're like, "Oh, you're like feeding the homeless tomorrow." You're like,
Nope.
nope.
Smart
It's
fuck
lunch prep,
sack.
guys. Get off my dick. Or get
They're,
on it.
Yeah. I knew a guy in high school. So this story, and I'm assuming it's true because knowing the guy, I wouldn't be surprised, that his thing was taking 2 chicken breasts and smushing them together and fucking that. Not in a plastic bag, but he would
we
try
say
and
his
get them.
name?
Sound
No, I can't. I really want to, but
God, dude.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't listen to this, so it probably would be okay. But some of our mutual friends do, so they'll know who I'm talking about. But he apparently he would like get them to be room temperature, and he apparently like did his deed with these chicken breasts. And then being like a 14-year-old teenager boy was an idiot and like left him on the counter or something. And his
Marinade.
mom thought
Had a little bit of marinade on it.
his mom thought
Extra
that he
salty.
took him out for dinner and she made them.
Oh. No.
Yeah. And she was like,
No.
"Oh, that was really sweet of you for like taking something out for dinner." And then he was like, What are you talking about?" Like he thought like he threw him away or whatever, but apparently he like left him on the counter. Or something.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's what they had for dinner that night.
And like you can't stop them. You can't be like,
Well, yeah,
Mom,
what do you
could
say?
you not? Like my dick was all up in that.
I mean,
Oh
you
my
just
God.
assume that, the heat cooks it off,
Well, on that Reddit post, there was so many dick-shaped foods that women used, and they would fucking eat them after.
What?
Yeah, like they're like zucchinis, and then I had like made salad. I'm like, what is wrong with you?
You just like peel it after? Like,
I
Yeah,
mean,
just
I
rinse it
guess.
off and
or they put a condom
it's
over it. but then
no.
they
By
just
the
take
end of it, it's
still
just a
weird.
pickle. It's just a pickle at the end.
Fuck a cucumber until it turns into a pickle.
Oh my god. So gross.
Oh shit, dude.
Oh, that reminds me of another client. Not that he pickled anything in his asshole or nothing like that.
I'm disappointed now.
Since we're on the topic of masturbation, I like how, by the way, we've been recording for, on my end, it's 15 minutes, so I guess it's a little bit less than that. But, like, it's all been dicks this whole time.
I told you, it just happens. It just goes there. Which is still why I wonder why my mom listens to this podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Another dick story. Here we go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good job, John. Real mature.
I like to imagine she like cracks her knuckles and she's like, all right.
Gotta get those downloads up for the boys.
This is why you have, what was it, like 10K that you guys reached? It's all because people love dick jokes.
That's true. Dick jokes and
everybody likes a good dick joke.
And Zach's smiling face on Instagram because I never post.
I was creeping that, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's just Zach's show.
It's just me, yeah. Johnny's just featuring every week. Honestly, is all it is at this point.
I mean, I started as a special guest, and I like my special guest star. Okay.
All right.
So this client was 21. I think he was 21. So I had already tattooed him. He was a very religious kid, and he got the sacred heart on him. And because I like to do things that are custom, you know, he wanted the traditional, like, boring ass thing that everyone has. I'm like, no, let's make it cool. So it was like a anatomical heart that's all gory and like blood dripping. It was pretty sick. So I probably shouldn't describe this to a T now, because if anyone listens and knows who he is.
Uh-oh.
Well,
You've
it's
done lots
too late
of anatomic you know?
Yeah, totally. So he wanted to add 10 arrows around it, and one of them be broken. And I was like, is this like a religious thing I don't know about? And I didn't question it, because like I don't have a sky wizard to dictate my life, so I don't know the rules.
Yeah.
So...
You haven't met him. You haven't met the Sky Wizard?
Yeah, like, I'm just saying. So he, like, I didn't ask him during the consultation or anything. He just, like, this is what I want, and I want to, like, encircle the sacred and I'm like, okay, cool. And so we designed it, and I'm not going to lie, it takes away from the original design for sure, because, like, the are more on the simple side, because they're small. Mm-hmm. So as I was tattooing him, I was probably, like, 3 in at this point, and I was like, I have to know, like, what do the mean? And he said it represented the 10 years he's been struggling with addiction. And I'm like, you're 21. Like, have you been, like, shooting heroin since you were 11? Like, that's pretty intense. Yeah. And he's like, well, no, I've been struggling with masturbating since I was 11. And I'm like, what? That's not an addiction. That's called being a boy.
Yeah, that's just testosterone taking over.
Yeah. And I was like, so, like, do you mean, like, you have a problem? Like, you're going, like, 10 times a day? Like, you can't even go to work type deal? He's like, oh, no, nothing like that. I'm like, so what's the addiction? He's like, well, I know it's a sin, and I know it's going to be really hard for me to find a wife. No woman's ever going to love me knowing this as my flaw.
Fuck.
I know. And I was like, what the
I would be weirded out if I was, like, getting into a relationship with somebody, and they're like, oh, yeah, I don't even touch myself. Like,
I'd be like, are you
I'm
broken?
a Quaker. Are you a Quaker? Am I dating a Quaker? Is that what's happening?
Like, oh, it was just so weird. And he said, he's like, you know, and I have a really hard time with pornography. And I'm like weird shit or like normal shit? Because like
missionary.
if you look at my search history, it's like 18-year-old gets cock slapped by a fucking Latino. You know, like it's, you know, it can get dirty real quick.
Yeah.
And you know, you always have to go through like at least a dozen videos that are shit until you find one that you're like, no, 100%. I can get off to this one.
Yeah.
That's true. You got to find the right one.
You really do. Tumblr is my new favorite thing. GIF porn is my life now because it's just quick. It's great.
I haven't been on Tumblr in a while. Has Tumblr sort of just become like the Wild West of porn GIFs? Is that what's...
Like, I would assume so, because that's all I use it for.
Oh, okay.
But anyway... He's like, well, you know, like I'll Google like boobs and stuff, and I'm like, shut up. That's
like
not even
fully
porn.
Clothed. Just like
in a bathing suit.
And
like
a
picture off to a Sears catalog.
It's not even the lingerie section or anything. It's just
she's
like,
cold. I see a nipple.
It's just like a nice pullover sweater.
Yeah, like the winter.
Why is this page sticking together? I thought there was a coupon in here. No, not anymore.
Oh, so good. Yeah, it's just it was a little sad that I'm like, first of all, you're missing out on the best years of fucking because you're like a bunny right now. You can just go.
Right.
Like, just get a girlfriend and life will
Did
be
he
good.
tell you how much he was masturbating? Like, he was like, I do it once a month and I'm going to hell? Or was it like once a day?
The longest he's gone without was 6 months, and then he broke into, like, he caved to the addiction.
He relapsed.
Yeah, that's the word.
14 days, just straight. He's making up for lost time. He locked himself in. People are worried about him. He walked out. He like all shriveled up like a raisin.
Man, when I was a kid, I could like
Dehydrated.
jerk it like 15 times in a day.
Oh,
Dude.
my mom's gonna love that.
Dude, yeah.
I'm definitely going to hell. If Sky Wizard is real and he's against masturbation,
Well,
wow, you guys will all be there with me, so it'll be a fun time.
Yeah.
When John still lived here, we were gonna go for dinner, I think just before you were moving, and it was depending on like my schedule, because my schedule's weird. And I finished work super early one day, and I was like, well, I might as well go home. And then I was gonna text him, and I was like, or I can stay home and fuck myself all day because I never get off this early. I remember he's like, does tonight work? I'm like, nah, I'm busy.
Plans, got plans.
Yeah.
Hey,
Sorry,
man,
bro.
sometimes that's a a personal care day.
It is, you know?
You gotta treat
I'm
yourself.
really busy. I never get time for that. So it was a good day. Oh,
dude.
God, I really don't want to meet your mom.
That'd be the first person I introduce you to.
You're like, hold on. I know there's a whole bunch of people, but we're gonna cut all the way to the other side of the room.
Just
good.
ignore everyone, beelining it to Lacey.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Oh Jesus.
But yeah, so Jesus doesn't like masturbating, moral of the story.
Oh no.
Gives you
Apparently
cancer
not.
and stuff.
I mean, if he's a loving God, then
Right, like-
it's pleasure. Doesn't he
I like
want us
Sky
to feel
Wizard.
pleasure? Sky Wizard. I like Sky Wizard. Yeah.
Let's start our own religion called Sky Wizard.
I mean,
And he gets his powers by you masturbating. That's how you pray. It's not praying, you just gotta crank one out.
he
It's like-
saves starving
like-
children.
Yeah.
It's like Gandalf. It's like Gandalf with a cock like a cock staff. Like that. That's perfect, dude. Sky Wizard. I'm all about it. I might actually name this episode Sky Wizard, even though there's been a whole lot of other stuff, just to keep
it's
the
good, though.
title, sort of PG,
Slightly
and then,
PG.
yeah,
And people
Like,
have
oh,
no
they're
idea
talking
what
about
they're getting
magic? Yeah, like
yeah, it's magic.
all magic. Oh man.
Man, this hour is almost an hour. It's flown. Like
I told you.
there's so
happens.
many.
And we've gotten 3 stories.
And
out of-
not even any like depressing ones. It's
No.
all been
Sure.
like hilarious ones.
Yeah, we try to stay away from depressing stuff as much as we can on the podcast. We delve into it every now and then.
fair.
We talk about politics or whatever, but
and then it's just like, oh, why did we do that?
yeah, I always feel
Immediate
stupid
regret.
afterwards, but whatever.
Definitely not ending on a sad one. But if you have one more shock value one, feel free to throw it out.
Oh, there's so much pressure because like those ones are all like
You've
pretty
stepped
golden.
up for sure. You definitely
Yeah.
stepped up.
Just is there anything recent in your brain that
Oh.
What
Well,
What would you say would be like tattoos that you wouldn't do? Like obviously a lot of standard stuff, but like how do you deal with those conversations? You just be like, no, this is not worth my time.
well, it depends on the person and depends on the mood I'm in.
That's fair.
So, like, there's a few things that I just don't agree with personally. Like your spouse's name, for example. Like, shit changes. And even, let's say you're together forever and they die and you get remarried. Like, do you want, like, I don't know, Bethany on your throat? Like, probably
Yeah.
not. So I usually just try to explain to people why I don't think it's a good idea. And that's for the standard stuff too, like something that's trendy. I'm like, I know you think this is good because you've seen it on Pinterest 8 million fucking times, but that's why it's not good. It's a 2018 version of a 90s tribal armband. Do you want to be that guy? So
Good old tribal armbands.
Yeah.
Would you do have you ever done tribal on someone?
like twice, and it was when I was first starting out. Like I couldn't really say no. I needed clients, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
But
fair.
I have this really bad habit when I do tribal of doing negative space dicks. So
now all of your clients, you got to share this one out.
I definitely took a picture of one and I like drew on top of it. It's a perfect like ball shaft. So,
oh man.
Whoopsies. And I didn't do it on purpose. I'm just like doing cuts in the tribal and then I'm like, oh, that's a dick. It's too late though.
This seems to be a reoccurring theme, Lacey.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to be looking at both my arms trying to find the hidden dick.
Well, there's probably a dick
Legend
in your
of the
raven
hidden
because
dick.
wings just look like little dicks.
That's true. A bunch of little dicks.
Oh,
I know Ray was joking about putting one in my mountains, and I was going to call it Dick Mountain.
Glorious.
Oh, man.
That's
just
perfect.
hidden dicks.
I think one more story that is really, it's kind of awful, but it's kind of fits what we've been talking about, but it is, I guess, on the depressing side. So I tattooed a paramedic, and they have the most horrific stories, and it doesn't bother them, which is insane. Like, it's like, oh yeah, so today at work, this guy got decapitated, and it's like, what the fuck? But he responded to a call at the jail, and a guy, I guess, like, snitched on someone, and they found out who it was, and he got gang raped by a bunch of dudes, and then they raped him with a broom. And yeah. So they punctured his, what was like the technical term? They punctured up all his shit, and he bled out through his asshole, and he died.
That is the worst. That's got to be the worst way to die.
Right? Like,
They made him into a puppet. They turned him into a marionette.
Literally, yeah.
Wow.
That's not good.
No.
Way to bring the comedy back.
Turn it around. It's still funny. Don't worry.
It's a marionette. It's okay. He lived happily ever after with Sky Wizard.
Yeah, the Sky Wizard. He brought him back to life. Everything's fine now.
Happily ever after. Yeah. There's also a guy in that same jail who's a nurse there, and him and the paramedic know each other because obviously when the calls happen, they go to the nurse. You know, like it's part of a whole system. Right. But I tattooed the nurse as well because it's one of those things. It's like a hairdresser. When you find a good one, you tell all your friends. So I usually end up tattooing families and friends and whatever. And I was asking him what's his best story because he would never see this happening. He would just be like, "This is what's happening. Call the paramedics." Blah blah blah. They have a guy there who's in prison for raping his mom, and on all of his paperwork, they crossed out his name and wrote "motherfucker." So when he comes in for his like shots and checkups, they're like, "Hey, motherfucker!" He's like, "That's not my fucking name." And they're like, "I'm pretty sure it is."
There's been no better fit name than that, right there.
Exactly.
Oh man.
Well, I think on that note, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Lacey, you're welcome back anytime.
I will accumulate some stories.
If you want to be a regular, if you want to, we'll toss your name. We'll change the podcast name to The Lacey Show. Whatever we need to do.
You just go.
We'll just unleash you and just provide some little talk in between the stories. But again, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it, and we hope to have you. Yeah.
Yeah, and Lacey, if people are interested in your work, where can they find you? Plug yourself.
So the best way to see the most up-to-date work would be on Instagram at Miss Lacey Tattoos. That's MISSLACEY Cool. So check me out there.
And you can see me there. I'm on that.
There you go.
There you go. That's the only place on Instagram you'll be able to see Johnny. Because he doesn't post on the Jumbled channel.
Actually, I recently posted a photo. He has a habit when and also Ray, when we tattoo him, he looks at us so endearingly. So I posted a photo of that because he just looks so happy. Like, oh, this is the best day of my life.
I really like being tattooed. I enjoy that time, It's hanging out with some friends, hearing some funny stories, and who doesn't like being penetrated? Double penetration.
Well, coming from the guy who I don't have any tattoos at all. I have
I'll get to you. Don't worry.
Say what?
I'll get to you. Don't worry.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Here we go, Zach. You come to Winnipeg.
All right. Got to work on that passport. So we'll just wrap it up here. This has been the longest outro in a long time. If you guys want to find us, we're on social media. Just search for Jumbled Podcast. You want to send us an email, that'd be jumbledpodcast@gmail.com. We are on SoundCloud, Google Play Music, anywhere you're listening to right now. Obviously, you found us. Congratulations. Share us with your friends. Leave us a rating and review on iTunes. That would be appreciated. Thanks to Audible for sponsoring the podcast. We appreciate that. Head over to audibletrial.com/jumbled for your free 30-day trial and a free audiobook. And if you want to be a patron to the podcast, head over to patreon.com/jumbled. Quick and easy. Wrapped it up.
Boom.
Sick.
You've rehearsed that so many times. Approximately 70.
It's so, approximately, give or take. But we'll see you guys next week for another episode of Jumbled, your favorite podcast.
About penetration.
There we go.
All the time.
See you later, guys.
Thanks, Lacey.
Thanks.